Welcome to Critical Aspects of Law Enforcement, a podcast where we dive into the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being of the law enforcement officer.
Minor injury accident in the 2700 block of 156th Avenue Northeast.
All right, welcome back to Critical Aspects of Law Enforcement. I'm your host, Vernon Phillips, and today we've got a special guest on the show. We've got Eli Serrano. I'm going to turn it over to him. I'm just going to let him dive into his background, kind of, his history, what he's done. Eli, just going to give it over to you, man.
Yeah, my name is Eli Serrano. I am 38 years old. I've been in law enforcement since the age of 21. Started as a police officer in Lake City, Florida. That's Columbia County, just north of Alachua County. I was there for almost 5 years. Then I transferred to Sheriff's Office, and I've been a deputy with Sheriff's Office 12 years now. Currently with our SWAT team, about several years, going on 8 years. I'm currently assigned to West District within county, and that's what I'm doing right now as far as within law enforcement.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate that. So, I mean, obviously you've got, quite a number of years in, so there's a lot of things we could talk about and a lot of experiences and, stuff we can draw from you to kind of pass on to other people. But obviously we know that law enforcement is a demanding job. We know that it, can take a toll on the individual. So, what is it that you do to just keep yourself kind of balanced and even keeled? So, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, what is it you do regularly just to keep yourself kind of in check?
Yeah, so patrol and just being in law enforcement overall can be overwhelming, especially when you're a young officer. I started at the age of 21, so I kind of hit the ground running. Definitely a lot of things happening within patrol. You're the first responder, you're first there. So there's a lot of things to process, especially if you're not exposed to critical incidents and situations where you're having to save people's lives or high risk situations. So in order to process those things, I do have family and friends I lean on, coworkers I've talked to about certain situations and incidents I've been involved in. And I also utilize resources within my agency as well, Sheriff's Office, as well as my previous agency with Lake City Police Department. Those situations and domestic situations, violent situations, things that we're processing as law enforcement officers, definitely leaning on those resources. But overall, personally, during my time, what I how to deal with things is I do stay physically active. I try to make sure I'm not all in with my job because it can be overwhelming. You want to have a life besides diving into law enforcement the whole entire time. So I challenge myself, physically active. I compete. I do different things throughout my whole life. I'm always looking for ways to grow. Doing those things, and having said that, it does help me operate better in the field as an officer and as a SWAT team member.
Yeah, and I mean, so obviously anybody who knows you kind of in our circle, knows that you're always pushing yourself, you're always challenging yourself to do something else. Like you said, you compete a lot. And so what are some of the things that you're competing in right now?
So right now, when I was started when I was younger, I was 21. I started with CrossFit, started doing a little bit of CrossFit competitions here and there. And then I got into a little bit of endurance racing later on in my life at the age of 26, 27. So yeah, I've always been an avid runner. And after work, I would be doing shift work. So I do 12-hour shifts. But after shift work, no matter what, if I was tired, if I was having a hard time, cardiovascular or even some type of movement to naturally get endorphins into my body would help me cope with the day. Even if I was tired or exhausted, I would take that time to give myself some clarity, whether I was running, whether it was lifting weights, whether it was just going for a walk or just sitting down on my rug and just stretching and just decompressing. And having said that, I would have my loved ones with me, my children, my wife, and I would talk to them while I was doing these things. That for me throughout my career has helped me out. And having said that, having goals outside of work as well, you want to have these goals while you're in law enforcement to step up in your career, whether it be sergeant, lieutenant, or different investigations and things like that. And then outside of work, I had goals too, physical goals. I started running, 5Ks. Those got easier because my body was responding to those things and it got easier. So then I upped it up to a marathon or half a marathon. And then I said, well, that was pretty easy. And then I upped it up to 30 miles, and that turned into ultra marathons. So I started dabbling in that. And when you start getting good at something, even in law enforcement, when you find your niche, whether it's narcotics or investigations, property crimes or SWAT, you start enjoying it a lot more because you're getting good at it. And that's what was happening with me. So outside of work, I was dabbling in these races, and it's something I was looking forward to outside of work. So I had something to turn to and challenge myself while I was dealing with law enforcement issues, call for service, or these critical incidents. I could say, what I'm outside of work, I'm still challenging myself and enjoying my life outside. It becomes dangerous when you don't have something. And a lot of my friends and colleagues, when you're just making law enforcement your life, which is not a bad thing. You got to have something to fall off on. You got to decompress
Yeah.
and put your mind somewhere else, because these incidents do affect people differently. And for me, my coping mechanism was always physical things. So it got to the point where I was running 100-mile ultras, and that's daunting, but it was challenging, and it helped me grow as an individual. And when you're in law enforcement, we take these oaths. We're in the academy. We take these oaths. We're deputies. We're police officers, highway patrol. And we take this oath. And this oath forces us or demands us to be the best versions of ourselves. So having said that, if you're not taking yourself seriously, and you're not taking your fitness seriously, you're not taking your overall mental health seriously, it's almost a disservice to the people that do believe in you. And that's your chief, your sheriff, your administration, your buddies to the left or right of you. So in being part of a SWAT team, Marion County SWAT team, I have people that are relying on me to my left and my right, literally when we're in a stack. So being part of that team is a demanding process. It's something you will earn within that agency. And having said that, you need to be the best version of yourself, because it's not about you. It's about that officer, that deputy to the left and right of you. And in this case, those operators to the left and right of me. So I take that aspect of my life seriously. So, and competing and doing those things, still, I can do it in a fun way. I don't need to just come out of work and then just come over, do 100 burpees or do something to where I'm just killing myself. I'm challenging myself and growing myself with just competition. So I do compete in the tactical games that's sponsored by Under Armour. I started dabbling in that a year ago, and it's shooting and CrossFit kind of together. So I dabble in that. And then I started a whole different social media page called 24CC, and that just stands for 24 hours. So I look at it like this. There's 24 hours in a day. We do a lot of social media, a lot of scrolling, a lot of wasted time on that phone. I always say, hey, you can consolidate all those minutes and hours of you scrolling, and you can put it 20 or 30 minutes in your day to taking care of yourself. So that's my motto. I'm wearing a shirt right now, 24 hours, 24 hours in a day. And I always use the motto as well as time beats excuses. And there's always time to do the things that are important to you. And that just doesn't come with physical training or cardiovascular or anything like that. That's your children, your wife, going to church, having outside relationships outside of work. So that's it. If it's important to you, you're going to make time for it. And that's the overall motto of what I push towards when I'm trying to inspire other people to take care of themselves.
Yeah, and that's important, because how often do we see in law enforcement, first responder community, where people just, for whatever reason, they get busy, they get complacent, life, right, where they just kind of start to not take care of themselves, and that whole idea of just investing in themselves just kind of hits the back burner, because everybody's busy, everybody's got family, life, and just fill in the blank.
Mm-hmm.
But you hit on it earlier where you talked about just the importance of exercise. Because it does, when you get out and you go and you exercise, it increases endorphins, right, and it increases your feeling of well-being, and it's like an antidepressant, but natural, right? You can't sit on the couch and go out and exercise or walk or run or do whatever at the same time. It's just
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's how I look at it. And people have heard this saying, a body in motion stays in motion, a body at rest stays at rest. I'm by no means perfect. I've had my off days. I've been complacent in my life. I'm 38 years old. There's been ups and downs, but most of the part I recognize that when it's happening to me, I'm saying, oh my gosh, I'm not feeling too good. I forgot to eat. We go to 12-hour shifts. Sometimes we forget to eat, forget to hydrate. And throughout my life, I've try to research and educate myself, like, hey, what am I putting in my body? Am I eating whole foods, or am I just drinking Red Bulls and Monsters and eating McDonald's and eating all these fast foods? Your body is a vessel, and what you put in your body, whether it's good things or bad things, processed food. At this point, we're all adults, especially the people around me. If you got to eat, you got to eat, but try to make an effort to put things in your body that are natural, whole, and that transcends to how you're going to feel at the end of the day. Are you dehydrated? That's a big thing. Not drinking enough water. Not eating the right things. So taking care of yourself in that aspect and trying to make time for that is definitely going to help you perform. Just not even law enforcement, overall, just your well-being, your Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And then just moving around. There's times in my patrol car, even when I was a detective, I was sitting too long. You had to get up and move. And I felt immediately better just taking a 10-minute walk and moving around, because we are people, we are mammals, scientific definition. We're meant to move. We're one of the only mammals that actually sweat. We're meant for endurance. We're meant to move. That's genetically how we are. Naturally, when we do start doing that, we feel better. If you're consistent with moving and working out and getting your body moving, your body's going to naturally react to it. You're going to have a stimulus. You're going to feel better. You're going to be like, you know what? I don't want to stop. And with that consistency and you recognizing that and try not to fall in those complacent traps, it's going to benefit you like tens times. So,
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, like I said earlier, you've got a lot that you could share. When you look at law enforcement and those just coming into the the career, what are some of the most important things that you've learned, that like 3 of the most important things you've learned that you'd like to pass on to those just starting out, those just hitting the road or just starting the academy? What is it you'd share with them?
yeah. So a lot of the time when I do meet these recruits, and sometimes I have the opportunities to train them in different capacities, I always tell them, they're intimidated, they're a little scared. We do have a high liability job. So I tell them, you're having the authority to change people's lives for the rest of their lives. And you're going to make mistakes, and we're not robots. We are human beings. We are officers. So I tell them, just take one step at a time, rely on your resources, whether it's other deputies or supervisors. If you don't know something, always ask. If you have good intentions and you're trying to do the right thing and you're trying to help somebody and you fall short or something happens, just keep your head up and that's it, and keep moving forward. It's just like life. You know this, like nothing's ever linear. Nothing's ever going to be like this. There's going to be ups and downs.
Mm-hmm.
1 week's going to be great. The next week's not going to be great. One month you're going to be doing something awesome, and then you hit a bump in the road, and you just have to process that, because no matter what, it's going to change. It's going to get better through time each day. And I tell these guys, take yourself seriously. Take pride in the career you have, because it's a great career. Take yourself seriously, or these criminals and people, how you carry yourself, are not going to take you seriously. So if you don't take yourself seriously, these guys, it can be dangerous, because they're going to look at you, and if they want to resist, they don't want to be taken into custody for some type of crime that's happening. They're going to look at you and they're going to resist, and things are going to happen. So take yourself seriously, or others will not take you seriously. And that transcends with confidence. That transcends with not being complacent. But this is a rewarding career. I've been doing it for close to 16 years. It's amazing. I want to do it for the rest of my life. I love it. And it's something that has changed me. And I love influencing other deputies and officers to challenge themselves. We have an amazing career where we're changing people's lives and helping people. And it can be exciting. It can be scary, but it is rewarding. And the sheriff's office that I work for, this agency, is an amazing agency.
Yeah. And then with that, I mean, so what about those that kind of are, halfway through the midpoint of their career? Like they're kind of right where you're at, and they're hitting that 15 years, right? Or they're hitting that 20-year mark, or maybe they're kind of getting towards the end of their career. What advice do you have for them?
It's dangerous to stay stagnant. I'm always an opportunist for growing. So if you're in a position, or you're staying in a situation where you're getting bored, or you're getting complacent, we're human beings. We have to change. We have to evolve. We have to have pressure on us. We got to grow. So if you are at that point in your career and you're feeling a little bit complacent, like this is getting old, or this, not, switch it up. There's plenty of different things you can do within an agency. There's property crimes, drug unit. There's aviation. There's all kinds of different units you can be a part of. Some people get complacent and they get a little bit more comfortable in the position they're at, and they don't want change. But if you want to grow, you got to change. You have to move around. It's good for your career. It's good for your mental well-being. And it's good for the agency overall to switch it up and move around. You don't want to be in a situation or a place because too long, because it does start affecting you negatively. If you do get to that point, if you want to grow, definitely put in for promotion, put in for something that's going to help you grow, and you're going to love it. So I tell those guys too, that I work around, like, hey, change it up, try this, try that. If you're passionate about it, don't be nervous or don't be scared. That's going to be an opportunity to grow. And some people want to stay in these positions, or they kind of want to just cruise through their career. But that's just not living to me. I think changing things within your life and then growing and having different opportunities is the best way that I've seen as far as how I surround myself with people.
Yeah, and and growth is never, generally is never comfortable, right? There's always some pain involved in that because there's that stressing. It's like, the process of being refined. And
Hmm.
it's not that it's meant to hurt you, it's meant to grow you, expand you, and increase your adaptability as an individual.
Hmm.
Because I
Absolutely.
think that's something important in the first responder field is being adaptable, right? Having that ability to be pliable and I've got a friend that refers to it as elasticity, right? Your ability to be stretched, but you still maintain who you are because you invest in who you are. But stretching is generally never comfortable,
Hmm.
right? Because you're pushing yourself beyond the last measure that you thought you did know.
It's funny that you say that. That stretching, literally, we speak about stretching, mobility, physically what you're doing. I tell these guys, and I'm around a little bit older guys, but they're like, man, I have this issue, I have that issue, I'm hitting a wall. It's funny, it's kind of ironic, but I'm like, your mobility, you have to stretch, you have to open yourself up, you have to move around. It's funny because the way you're speaking about this literally can apply to that.
Yeah,
You have to move if you want to grow and you want to move. If it has to do with lifting weights or CrossFit or squatting, you have to have mobility, you have to stretch, you have to open yourself up, and that applies to what you're doing, what we're talking about. You have to make yourself uncomfortable to grow. If you want to stay in that one spot, you're gonna hurt yourself. So you have to be flexible. You have to, and it's going to not just benefit you; it benefits as others. You can pass that knowledge along to your peers, along to your others, and help people succeed and grow. I try to surround myself with mentors and people that help me grow as a person and an individual, spiritually and competitively. You are who you hang out with. So if you're gonna
yeah,
hang around with people that aren't doing a lot, it's gonna influence you. If you are hanging around people that are challenging themselves, that want to grow, that's gonna rub off on you. It's just like anything. It's just like even on the streets, these criminals, these kids are being influenced by certain individuals they're hanging out with, and there's a consistent pattern of that, and then they're making the wrong decisions, and then they're part of the system. So it's the same thing with,
yeah.
well, we're human beings. So make the right decisions, try to grow, try to be elastic, just like you said, and have other opportunities and take advantage of those things when they're in front of you as well. So, but very,
Yeah,
very good.
yeah. Don't be afraid of the stretch, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So many people are, and obviously, when we look at kind of being uncomfortable and being stretched and being put in those situations that push us to just to evolve past who we are. Obviously, you've got 15 plus years of experience you can draw from. But when you look back over your career, what's one of the like the most impactful calls that you worked, and then how did you get on the other side of that?
Like one that rings a bell, every officer and every deputy, whether you're on the street or not, you always imagine someone getting out on a traffic stop with a weapon and shooting at you or something happen like that. So I've done probably thousands of traffic stops as a deputy and a police officer. And this one time, it was maybe 3 or 4 years ago, man walked out and just exited his vehicle during a traffic stop and pulled a weapon on me. He never presented the weapon to me, but he had it in his hand. He did want me to take his life, and we stood there negotiating. And I relied on my training. I relied on how I felt, the stimulus. I felt that before. I felt my heart rate go. I know what adrenaline feels like. So our agency exposes us that with the training and the adrenaline. So I was relying on my training, and then physiologically, I was having a response because I was processing. This man wanted me to take his life, and obviously, this man was hurting because he did something bad, and he
Yeah,
did not want to live anymore. So with me, just negotiating him and being human with him and telling him like, hey, you don't want to do this. And then unfortunately, we deal with people that actually do want to take their lives and they just do it. There's really no negotiating. Unfortunately, it does happen. The statistic is high, but this specific individual wanted me to do it for him, and I wasn't going to do that. He never presented the weapon. I was able to calm him down to where he did drop the weapon. It turns out that he was about to go back to prison for some pretty bad crimes against some family members, and ended up tasing him and took him into custody for that situation. So he actually ran for me as well. It was a vehicle chase. But after that situation, I was able to process what I was feeling, what I was going through. and definitely reached out to a few people. And there's really good resources within my agency that helped me out and helped me cope with that situation, because I've been in tough situations that happen really fast with a shooting or someone firing something or something crazy like that's happening, but it's happening pretty quick. I haven't been in limbo in a situation where the guy actually has a gun and he's telling me to do it. I've always thought, like, if this was ever going to happen, that someone was going to
Yeah.
present the firearm and then just start shooting. It never crossed my mind that he would just stand there with it. So that was a little bit off-putting, but we have a great system at our. It's a FAT system. It's a shooting simulator with our agency. And a week before that incident happened, I was doing a shooting simulator training in almost the exact same scenario. So when it was happening, it was very surreal. I was almost processing, like, is this really happening, or is this a training situation? Because I was so used to the training, and I'm like, no, this is real life. So you're just processing these things. But at any rate, the guy gave up, and that was a really tough situation to deal with during and after. But understanding what was happening, understanding what I was feeling, and understanding what he was going through, and just remember that we're both human beings, was able to help me process it. So it was pretty tough on that one.
Yeah, and I remember that one. And I remember watching your body cam footage on that. But you were pretty calm, cool, and collected the whole entire time you were interacting with that guy.
Yeah, it was tough. There was a point where I was presenting my weapon to him, and I had my finger on the trigger, and there was so much adrenaline happening within my body. My blood I could feel the blood just rushing to the center of my body as a response, just a survival response. And my sight picture was getting definitely compromised while I was looking at the gentleman, this bad guy, and I ended up recognizing that, and I almost had to gain composure and back to my car and just take a deep breath and remember to get oxygen to my brain to kind of lock back in, so to speak.
Yeah.
By that time, he was throwing the weapon down, but there's definitely, and having said that physiological response to what was going on, if I didn't train the way I train with running and shooting and getting my heart rate up with some of the training and the competitions I do, my physiological response would have been way different. There's been times I've wrestled with guys outside of cars that have had guns, and I've been in fights, and it was my training and the things I do that have helped me restrain these really big guys. Most of these criminals aren't training like some of us officers or SWAT guys are doing. They're not hitting that red line of their threshold of their heart rate or anything like that. So I could feel it happening, and I feel that person give up before I do. So the training and endurance and stamina definitely helps out with those situations where I'm having to wrestle a guy and they get wore out before I do. And I'm able to last them. I'm able to win. Because at the end of the day, that's what matters. We're winning and we're going home to our families.
Yep, absolutely. And that's the goal, right? It's at the end of your shift is to go home. And preferably to go home the same way that you started.
Yeah.
So with that, what is one of the most awkward or funniest calls for service that you've dealt with?
Oh man, funniest calls for service. Funniest, let me think here. Recently there was a man he was having a hard time. He was having a hard time dealing with some things. He was standing off. This happened like maybe a month ago, and this is the first thing. I'm sure I've had 100 stories, but this guy was thinking about jumping off a bridge. He didn't jump off the bridge. We were able to calm him down. I brought him back to my car and I told him, I said, hey, you're not in trouble. We have to just get you some help, get you evaluated under Baker Act. He's like, I didn't want to hurt myself. I'm like, sir, you were trying to jump off a bridge. You even told medics that you wanted to take your own life. You definitely wanted to hurt yourself. He's like, I did not want to hurt myself. He's like, you know what? Here, I'll hurt myself. And he headbutted my car, and he didn't leave a mark on his head, but I have a brand new patrol car, and he put about a 5-inch dent on the side of my brand new car. And I was like, really? And he wasn't affected at all. And I said, really? You're going to just dent my car? And I'm like, okay, well, now we have to go to jail first for criminal mischief because you just damaged my car. So we're going to get you evaluated, but we're going to book you for this first. And then we're going to deal with you getting evaluated after. But search incident to arrest, he ended up having a felony amount of drugs on him. And it's unfortunate, but that was a bizarre situation. I'm like, really? You're going to just headbutt my car like that? And it wasn't just a headbutt. I mean, he hit his head where my fender merges with my hood, and there's a crease. There was the hardest part of the car, and he was unaffected. So that was a little bit bizarre. So that kind of threw me off. But I mean, I could go down the line with hundreds of stories of every night was crazy. I worked night shift most of my career, but now I'm on days. Stories, all kinds of stories.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I mean, everybody's got those stories, and but it's fun to share those, and I've had a couple of really interesting ones. Some awkward ones.
Mm.
Walking in on people and all kinds of crazy stuff. But it's good to share those. It's good for other people to hear. Like, hey, okay, maybe I'm not the only one that gets all these random weird calls where people always happen to be naked, or they're always just talking crazy. So,
Mm-hmm.
but also sharing those more difficult calls too, because it gets you talking. It gets you talking about, hey, yeah, I've been in a stressful event or critical incident, and I'm on the other side of it, right? So that it
Yeah.
instills hope in other people. Like, hey, yes, like you went through this. It could have been the worst thing you've experienced in your life, but you can get on the other side. You can get back, doing what you like, what you love to do,
Mm-hmm.
and you can recover from that. And I think that's important that we highlight that. We make sure that we're pushing that out. That you don't have to fight that on your own. Prepare yourself beforehand. Have good coping mechanisms in place. Have a good social support network, because that's important. Is having that social support network. That's one of the most important things. Is having that good, healthy social support network around you.
Mm-hmm.
Those friends and family that are going to step in, that are going to encourage you, but also then hold you accountable when you need to be held accountable, and say, hey,
Absolutely.
put your feet to the fire and say, hey, look, you need to address this. You need to take care of this. Let's move on. Let's get this rolling. So
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. There's been plenty of times where I have family and friends that have helped me out in situations where I'm having a hard time coping with something, or they see me withdrawing, or there's something I'm doing that's maybe out of line. We're human beings, so I do have that support system, and that does happen,
yeah,
and that's a good thing. And having enough sense and being humble and understand when you're doing something that might be affecting the ones you love, um, definitely puts things in perspective. So having those support systems and being able to talk about anything you're going through, it benefits you um, very much so. And there's definitely probably lots of careers that have been saved because just the communication. If you're
yeah,
going through something, you have to communicate. If you're feeling something or something's off, reach out to somebody, talk. We're all in this together. You know, we're all going through it, whether people speak about it or not. I have plenty of friends within law enforcement and plenty of family that have helped me out through situations that have been tough. Most of the time with law enforcement, I have an understanding that sometimes dealing with adults and dealing with mental illness, and these people are making these decisions. These things happen. I have an okay time processing dealing with adults. When it comes to children that are innocent and children that are victimized, that's the hard part for me in my career.
yeah,
Those are the times I have a hard time processing things. And I'm able to talk to coworkers, I'm able to talk to family to process these things. But the innocent children that I haven't made choices yet, or haven't been grown enough to understand what's going on, and kind of confused when they're victims, or they're part of situations, or mom and dad are fighting, or they're exposed to things they shouldn't be exposed to. That's when I get a little more emotional, a little more upset, and
yeah,
I'm able to talk to people. So those are the things that probably more triggering than anything. Those are tough to deal with. And a lot of my colleagues and coworkers are definitely exposed to that as well. But we talk about it, we process it, and we keep moving forward, because it is a mission to help people. It's a mission to hold these people accountable if they're hurting people, or if they're doing bad things.
yeah. And I think it's important to really highlight that. It's like, hey, look, when you've experienced something like that, make sure that you make use of resources, right? Reach out to somebody, talk to somebody. Things are in place for a reason, and that you don't have to deal with it on your own. So definitely making use of stuff, I think, is a great point to make. And I mean, we kind of talked about it earlier. I mean, obviously for you, a big coping mechanism is just being physically active, right? Investing in yourself, and pushing yourself, challenging yourself, because like you said, it obviously puts you in good health, good operating, like your peak performance for doing your job, but also pushes your body to where you can face those things
Mhm.
and deal with them. So you talked about 24 a little bit already. So um, just kind of explain to us how that came about, like in your whole mission behind the idea of 24.
It was really talking to just throughout my career and throughout my life, and just being around people and people making the excuse, I don't have time, I can't do this, that's hard, this and that. And a lot of people don't like to do hard things. It's very hard, especially if you're not doing it a lot and you're not consistent. So it was kind of a thing that developed within the last couple years. I wanted to inspire people, and I wanted to remind people we all have the same amount of time in the day. We wake up. Most of us are busy, just like everybody's going to work. Everybody has children. Everybody's going to school. We're working. We're doing these things. And like I said, even with social media and these phones and all the distractions, you have time to invest in yourself. So that's where 24 came from, having time in your day to make these things happen, because they're going to benefit you. They're going to benefit your family. They're going to benefit, especially with law enforcement, helping you perform better and just taking that extra step. And you're going to be happy with yourself. It's going to help your overall well-being, your mental health, your physical health, and then being ready to face that wolf if it's coming down the hallway at you. So that's what I do. I take that seriously, and it's made my life better, and it's made several people's life better that I train with. So that's my goal with that social media platform that I have, is to inspire people and to do things that people have never done before, whether it's a race, whether it's DECA or CrossFit or the tactical games or some type of event, just to test yourself, because that's how you grow, and you're going to be happy with yourself. Because how do you know a lot about yourself if you're never testing yourself? If you're in a situation like, hey, I've been in this before, I know what this feels like. I'm not telling you to run 100 miles. That's crazy. I've done that twice. So everybody has their own hard things. That was a gut wrenching and it definitely tested my soul. But I found out a lot about myself, and that's something that I put myself through, and something that I really can't explain to people. It's something you have to do yourself. It's something I can't transfer to another person and say, hey, this is what it's like. It's very humbling. It's one of the best experiences of my life, me running a couple 100-mile ultras, because I found a lot about myself, what I can and what I can do, and what I'm capable of when I try and when I train. Because it definitely was a lot of training. I just didn't do it. I made a decision to do it, and I did it. And succeeding in something and having a goal, whether it's a competition or running a 5K or even running half a mile, like that's your goal. Have goals outside of work, whether it's like, hey, I'm going to, may not be eating right, but I'm going to try to walk or run for 20 minutes a day. Just 20 minutes a day of cardiovascular will change your body physiologically like that. And like I said, we are meant to move. If you do that for 20 minutes of cardiovascular for 7 days a week, you will see such a change in just that little time. And then when you see that change, stay consistent and don't stop. Your body's an amazing thing. It's going to adapt to what you're doing. And you might feel sore, you might feel injured, there might be some pre-existing things happening, but recognize the things that are happening within your body and make sure you're stretching, make sure you're eating right, make sure you're hydrating, and then your body's going to adapt to what you're doing. Some of the best racers that I've raced against in these ultras and these are 55, 60-year-old men that are just phenomenal athletes that just never stop training and never stop pushing themselves. Because they got to the age where they started just dialing in. They're like, oh, you know what? My body reacts to processed foods. My body reacts to too much sodium. My body reacts to, I'm having inflammation. And a lot of the inflammation and things that happen is what we're eating. If you're just eating meats, vegetables, and fruits in moderation, and you're hydrated, have a coffee. Every once in a while on the weekend, you have a pizza or have a donut. But most of the time, if you're eating whole foods throughout the week, and I know sometimes you got to come home, you got to cook, you got to do these things. I'm going to meal prep. Sometimes I don't really meal prep. I just have meat in my fridge, and I just put it on there at the end of the night, and I cook it with some quinoa or rice or vegetables. And that's what I try to, and overall, I feel much better. And when I do eat processed food sometimes, I eat processed food sometimes. It happens. I'll eat a Burger King or Wendy's every once in a while. But I do feel the difference. I do feel the inflammation. I do feel lethargic because it's not real food. It's a lot of processed things. But I try to make those goals, those eating healthy goals and the physical goals. But just start off small with small steps and stay consistent. With consistency, doors will open like crazy. So that's why I started 24, to push people, inspire people to become the best version of themselves. And like I said, it's just not fitness. It's everything in your life. It's your family. Make time for your family. Make time to go to church. Make time to have relationships and slow down and make time for the important things, because we all only live once, and just like that. So take each day seriously at a time. Take yourself seriously, and you'll live a good life. So that's what I'm trying to do as far as inspiring people.
Yeah. So if somebody wants to follow, your your social media platform, the 24? How can they do that?
Yeah, so it's on Instagram. I post most of my workouts on Instagram. I'll post 2 or 3 a week on there, and you can follow me on my website 24cc, and you can see my page there. I have a little bit of apparel there, and it will link you directly to my social media platform as well. But that's what it is. It's there to inspire people and there to motivate people. I don't really make it to the gym a lot. I'm out here in my front yard or my garage. I just have a barbell. I have a couple Concept 2 machines, which I bought used on Marketplace. And I do, I'm here at my house doing training sessions, and they're 15, 20-minute training sessions, but they're high heart rate, high metabolic training sessions that do make a difference. I'm just not standing in a mirror doing hammer curls. The aesthetic aspect that comes with the training, that will come in time. If you're a bodybuilder and you're doing it for competition, it's completely different. But if you're training for life, or you're training to stay healthy and active and protect yourself, that's what type of training you need to do. You need to do high heart rate.
There's so many people that are probably feel so targeted right now.
No, dude, I'm not trying to inspire, man. So a lot of the guys I surround myself with, and most of the team members on my team, and the people I associate with different agencies, guys from Orange County, Lake County, Citrus County, they all have the same mindset. And we all train with each other. We all compete with each other. And it's tough to make those times. There is sacrifice. Yeah. It does pull away sometimes. But if you just take that 25 to 30 minutes, there's time in the day, make it happen. You're not going to feel like it sometimes. And I know, I know people feel that way. You're not going to feel like it. But when you do it, you feel immediately better. Your body's saying, thank you for giving me oxygen. Thank you for releasing these natural endorphins. Thank you for moving me around, because I've been stuck in an office, or I've been stuck in a chair all day. And me just opening up my body and opening up my diaphragm, my lungs, and opening up my muscles. That's what we're meant to do. We're meant to move. Our body is designed that way.
Yep. And I'll add that your information in the show notes, so people would just click on it and go. So as we I want to be respectful of your time, but as we kind of start to wrap up, when you look back, obviously, over your career and just kind of where you're at now, and you've kind of referenced it a couple of times, but how important has your faith been in where you're at today, and kind of bringing you to where you're at today with where you're at in the agency with 24, and just who you are in general.
Yeah. I was, as far as it goes, my life, I was raised Catholic most of my life. I was raised upstate New York. I was born in the city, and coming down south, I started attending Meadowbrook Church for the last 12 years. And I don't go to church every single week. I do probably once or twice a month, but my relationship with God has definitely changed with over time. I definitely gotten closer as I gotten older. And just having that little bit of a faith and understanding like these things happening, understanding that having a relationship with God and understanding those values within your family and outside definitely makes a difference with how I understand the world and how I process things. So I always make time to have a relationship there, and try to make time to attend my church when I can, because life does happen. Yep. Sundays I do work every other weekend, but those things are important. And having those values in your life and doing the best you can. We're going to fall short. We're not going to be there all the time. We're human beings, but understanding that living for God and having that relationship and have a relationship with Him is very important. And if you don't have one, and you start and you make that decision to try to manifest that relationship, it's definitely going to make some differences in your life for the good. So.
Yeah, and I think that's important, especially in the law enforcement first responder community. I think that's kind of one of those areas that we kind of sometimes leave out. We're always talking about the physical, obviously, the mental. We're starting to dive into the emotional, but I think the spiritual. I think the spiritual is kind of that's kind of shifted to the back. So I think that's a main building block of anybody's life, regardless of where they fall, spiritually. But I appreciate your time. And I appreciate you just sharing your expertise, your knowledge just about being fit, being active, investing in yourself, and making sure that you're doing what you need to do to keep yourself in that peak performance. So I think that's important. But just kind of lastly, before we cut off here, is if there's somebody right now who's just kind of in a bad place maybe in their life and they're just struggling, what is some advice you give them?
Take a deep breath, one day at a time. communicate about it, talk about it, understand that everything's always going to get better. You feel like maybe at this moment in time, like it's the end of the world or you don't understand what's happening, but take it one day at a time, talk about it to somebody, make a phone call, and just understand that, everything's always going to be better with time. Once you process it, you understand what's happening, or if you're confused, there is some clarity and resolution at the end of it. Whether it's sitting there praying, talking to God, talking to your family member, it will open, it will eventually subside, and things will always get better. So, and like I said, nothing's ever linear. It's going to be just like this all the time.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Eli, I appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you.
I appreciate you tuning in and listening to Critical Aspects of Law Enforcement. Remember to subscribe to the podcast and share this resource with your fellow officers. The goal of Critical Aspects is to serve, support, and sustain the law enforcement professionals. So head over to www.criticalaspects.org for more resources and information. And as always, God bless and be safe.